Okay. My name is Ross and I am a freelance writer and filmmaker. Yeah, so the Royal National Institute for the Blind is an organisation or a charity that I volunteer for. I do a lot of stuff with people that have visual impairments within the LGBT community, which is kind of a group that's not really been represented very well. So I'm trying to bring people out their shell a little bit and let them know that there are people out there that are going through the same as them, really. So yeah. Yeah, so my visual impairment is a little bit complicated. So I am registered blind because I am totally blind in my left eye and partially sighted or half blind in my right eye, which means that medically I am actually blind. Apparently you need to have full sight in one of your eyes to be partially sighted, kind of thing. I don't know the name of the condition. It's one of those things where big medical names, I don't know. So what I can see is quite tricky to describe, but I'll try my best. So when I look at something initially, it can be quite blurry, and it can actually be very dependent on if I'm tired or not as well. 'Cause if I'm tired, my eyesight's actually a lot worse. And so if I look at something, it's got sort of distorted. So, but the longer that I look at something, or the longer that I look at someone, the clearer they get. And they'll never be fully clear, obviously, because I can't see. But they'll be clear enough for me to maybe, I can never tell you what colour someone's eyes are, even if they're looking right at me. But I could, I can tell you the shape of their face, or what colour their hair is, things like that. So finer details I can't tell at all. But yeah, and like I said, but so the more I look at someone or something, the clearer it becomes within as clear as it can get from my eyesight. Yeah, so what I can make out and see is it's quite complicated to explain. I think that I kind of go by memory, so the more I see someone, the more I make out of them, if that makes sense. Because I see them so much, so my brain kind of catches up to, oh, I know that person and things like that. Which is why if you see me in the street and I don't recognise you, I'm like, cool, hi. So yeah. My visual impairment I've had since birth, so it's just something that I'm kind of used to, really. Yeah, so my experiences being visually impaired have been up and down. I was brought up in a pretty mainstream environment, even though I went to schools that had visual impairment units in it. They were in mainstream schools, so which was good and bad because it meant that I was in classes with people that were sort of not very understanding and sort of, was maybe not go as far as bullying, but would tease me quite a lot, and they didn't understand. They were kids, get it. But it kind of also impacted my social life as well, because I would sometimes have someone with me in class to kind of help me with notes and stuff, and it meant that people would kind of stay away from me a little bit. So I think that but then as I got older and I kind of cared less about what people think, I kind of started being a lot more comfortable with it, and I went through a big period of my life where I didn't really want to ask for help, and sort of denied, I don't want large print because that's not normal, and things like that. But then again, as I kind of gained a bit more confidence and kind of found drama and found acting and found film, I kind of came into my own person a little bit more, and kind of realised that, it's quite cool to kind of stand out and be like, yeah, I use large print, and so that's sort of my experience. Yeah, so I am a freelance writer and filmmaker. I unfortunately don't make that much, so I wouldn't recommend going into the industry because the pay is not great. But I do stuff for the BBC Social. I've written quite a lot of articles for online magazines, online film websites, and I'm at the moment trying to break into my own spoken word stuff. I've got an EP coming out of spoken word pieces, and I'm also a musician, I guess, kind of. I write my own songs and I play guitar and stuff like that, so I'm trying to get into that a little bit, but still also try and stick to film and write some films, write short stories. So I do a bit of everything, anything creative. I'll do it pretty much. Yeah, I love anything to do with film, music, acting, and I've got a lot of respect for the industry, and I think that it's really important to try and understand, even if you don't like certain aspects of it, or like you just want to be like, I want to be an actor, or I want to be a writer, it's quite good to have some knowledge of each kind of like element of it, because then it means that you can offer assistance or kind of help out if you're, you know, in that industry and you're kind of like, oh, you know, it'd be quite cool to see what a producer does. So yeah, so I think it's such an interesting industry to me that, you know, that there's so many elements and so much work goes into it, and I think that unless you see it from both sides, you never really fully understand what it's like to be in, you know, in the kind of industry. Yeah, going to the cinema, I'm one of those really bad blind people that like I hate audio description with a like burning passion. I think I got used to it when it was like really bad when I was like, younger, and they'd like audio description would talk over the dialogue of the film. It put me off for life, but it is a lot better now. But I think sound is really, really important. And with like my film reviews, when I would write one, I'd focus more on the emotion of the film, or the acting, or the sort of like the way that, like, if an actor who's American, for example, is doing an accent, I would comment on things like that. Things that someone might, like, usually in reviews they talk about cinematography and the costume and the makeup and things like that. But for me, it's all about the emotion that I get from it, and the story itself as well, more than the technical side, I guess. So I think that I kind of incorporate that into my filmmaking as well. So when it comes to, I'd rather have people like the audience like crying than have them be like, oh, that shot was really nice, you know, like, you know. And I think that like there's something in the emotion of a scene rather than the tech. So that, yeah, so that's kind of how I would describe my film experience.
Cool.
Audio and hearing is really valuable to me for knowing where I am and knowing, you know, the basics of even like knowing when to cross the road or things like that. And I think that when you can see, and I'm, you know, not saying that this is like a bad thing, but I think that when you can see it, or when you have the use of all your senses, you kind of take certain things for granted a little bit, and kind of like, you know, you can have your headphones in at traffic lights because you can see when it goes green, stuff like that. But I rely on, like, you know, noises, like the noise of traffic lights. So like things like the fact that not all of them have that noise, I'm kind of like relying on someone else to cross the road, and hopefully they don't kill me when they walk across. So yeah, I think, yeah, so hearing is like one of those things where, so I can't walk up the street with my headphones in because anything could happen, you know, and because I can't see very well. I could walk into something, or walk into someone could walk into me, and you know, and that's a shame, 'cause I love music so much, and I would love to be like walking down the street with earphones in, but I need to be aware of everything that's around me. So it's quite, yeah, sound is really, really important. I don't think that deafblind or disabled people in general are represented at all, and which is why I made that video for the social, highlighting venues that are fully accessible. But the reason that I highlighted those specific ones is because it's like they automatically thought about it. It wasn't like something like, oh, we need to make this place accessible. They were just, it was already in place kind of thing, like, and it was already in the sort of initial plan for that venue to be accessible. And I think the fact that these venues could do it, so why can't every other one? And there's all these excuses like it's a listed building and things like that, when really that's not a good enough excuse. And also from a business kind of perspective, is why wouldn't you want as many people as possible to come to your business? So that's why, you know, not being accessible, you're kind of missing out on business side of stuff. You're missing out on a lot of money because there's a lot of disabled people. So, you know, get accessibility to the forefront. Oh no.
can hear that one. Yeah, that one I can hear.
Oh no. Okay. So, will I see you later? Will I see you later that again? Do you think? Or
yeah, you take it back to why can't the businesses? Why wouldn't they do that to get more people in?
Okay. So yeah, even when it comes to like a business perspective as well, getting more people in, you would think that they would want to get as many people in their venue as possible. So by making everywhere accessible, or as accessible as it can be, you're getting more money for a business, and you're also spreading word of mouth by people saying, oh, like my friends know that if they go on a night out, I can go with them, or if you're wanting to like take someone out for dinner, that they can go to this certain place and not have to worry about toilets being upstairs or having to even go up or downstairs to get into the venue either. So I think it's such an important thing, and again, I think that up until very recently, because I was brought up in a very mainstream world, I guess, I didn't realise I could actually talk about this stuff until I got older, like into my 20s, and I realised, you know what, I'm sick of this, I'm going to start talking about it, and that's, where the BBC Social has really been absolutely incredible, because it means that it's given me a voice to kind of be like, this is wrong, sort it out. Yeah, I think that the general lack of awareness of disability in general, so it's not just from an access standpoint, it's from a not understanding a disability, or knowing that, on knowing sort of if someone is disabled, there's something called a hidden disability, where someone could be on the surface perfectly fine, but they could have a hidden disability, if that's right. An experience that I had of lack of awareness was a few times actually when I've been out with friends in the city centre, and bouncers have questioned me about my authenticity of my disability and saying that, oh, you don't have a white stick, or you don't have a dog, how can you be visually impaired? And it's like, because visually impaired people can walk around without dogs and sticks. And it's sort of like, I've been kind of questioned in pubs and cornered at one point when I was in a pub and I had my crutch to one side. I also have mobility issues, as well as not being able to see. And I put my crutch to one side, and the toilet was literally a few steps away. And I got up, and as I was coming out, someone called me and was like, "Oh, you must be faking! Like, how can you come in here with a crutch and then walk around without it?" And it was just sort of like the lack of awareness of people is quite terrifying, especially when, to a kind of general public, it's like, oh, we've come on so far with accessibility, and it's like, you've really not. So, I think that there needs to be a lot more awareness within education and in business about disability and access, and even from the standpoint of myself, who I am, even though I do a lot of media work, I am unemployed and I don't have a steady income, and that's mainly because the minute I apply for a job, I might get to an interview stage, but then the employers immediately put off because of my disability, and they don't understand, they don't think to ask me what can you do. Instead they think, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's a lack of understanding. And I think that establishments, whether it's a business or whether it's a school or a college, they need to put more time into teaching people about access and about disability, and how, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I'm a person, I'm not a disability, and I think that's something that people need to kind of start realising. Yeah, I don't think in the film and TV industry that there's a lot of representation or a lot of awareness of, of adding things like captions for the hard of hearing, or audio description, or even when it comes to, I can't watch foreign films because it takes me so long to read subtitles that by the time I have, like, about 5 scenes have passed. And that's where I really appreciate when a foreign film is dubbed in English, but I know that a lot of people actually hate when films are dubbed. But when you think about the amount of people that that could help. It's, you know, it goes a long way, and I think, and like a lot of people, again, like they won't be around disability, they might not know someone who's got a disability. So I think that when you're not around it, you're not aware of these things. But so things like having films dubbed in English would go, you know, would be so great for a film fan like myself. Having audio description in every cinema and not having to go to a specific screen or going to the cinema at a certain time. A lot of audio description showing like during the day, whereas you might want to go at night with your friends and you can't because, you know, there's no option. And I think that it should be something that should be an option all the time, no matter where you go, no matter what cinema. And if again, businesses took more time to do this and put money into it, they'd see that they'd probably get triple that money back, they'd get more people to their cinemas. Yeah, there's a really big lack of representation for disability in film and TV. And it's not necessarily that disability itself is not represented, it's more that when it comes to an actor or someone who is disabled themselves being represented by an able-bodied actor, for example, and I know this from personal experience, wanting to get into acting, and even though it's hard anyway, but being a disabled actor is even worse because, you know, like I've watched, maybe not my own disability, but I've watched people, like, you know, famous actors taking on a disabled role, and it's like they probably don't know the first thing about that disability, regardless of the research. You know, I know fine well, I know a lot of disabled actors who would be authentic and would know a lot more, and I think that, you know, in that kind of way of the actual film industry itself, you know, using a big name actor to play a disabled role is actually in a lot of ways quite offensive and pretty discriminative when I know fine well that there's a lot of disabled actors out there who could play that role authentically and really real. And in terms of from an audience perspective, I remember watching a TV show years ago where there was a blind character in it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm being represented, finally, yay, someone that's blind, yay. And then that actress left the show. A few months later, she done up in another show completely fully sighted, and I found out obviously that actress wasn't actually blind. And I remember being so heartbroken because I thought finally I was being represented and I wasn't. And it made me see like, you know, it's not great when, you know, when you see a character that you relate to so much, like on like such a personal level, and then it's kind of like, yeah, that's, you know, but that's acting for you, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Do you know, I think that there's a difference between experiencing something for a moment rather than actually experience it for real and in real life, because, you know, something that I should have mentioned is that my eyesight means I can't watch 3D films. Well, I can watch them, but they don't have any effect on me whatsoever. So something like jumps out, I can't see it, and that's the same with VR stuff. But yeah, I think that with this, I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea on the sort of, like, on paper, I guess, but to do it, like, I can tell that a lot of people will be like, oh, you know, oh, it's fun, you know, like, pretending to be blind for, like, you know, half an hour, like, but people actually live with it, and they can't just take this off and be like, oh, I can see again. So I think that there's some kind of, it is great to give people experience of it, but you need to keep in mind that people live like this, so it's not something that should be done lightly or done in a sort of, you know, amusement way. It's, you know, it should be dealt with in a very serious way and under serious circumstances. So if it's like, say for example, doctors training to become, I don't know what the technical name is, eye doctors, I guess, then yeah, you know, by all means, that would be great to show them what it's like, but in a kind of general public way, I can see how it could be kind of misused and sort of, you know, kind of seen as a kind of like entertainment form, like, oh, I can't see, and then, oh, I can. So I think that you need to really be very, very careful with something like that, especially when, because I am very happy to talk about my visual impairment and my disabilities in general, but there are people who would probably be quite upset to know that there's something like that kind of being developed, because it's like, you know, I need to live like that and I can't change it, whereas, yeah, so, yeah, it's like that's someone's life, you know, that's someone's life, and you know, like, and they don't know the anxiety and mental health side of it either, you know. So that anxiety that someone might feel for that 15 minutes experience, imagine that every day, all day, for your whole life, and knowing that you can't change it, you can't just take the headset off and you're fine, you know. So, yeah, I think faking a disability is, in my opinion, up there with, like, I don't know, like, I live with a disability and let's say I can't change it, I can't wake up tomorrow and decide I don't want a disability anymore. So faking a disability, you're kind of like, you're not only, you know, lying to people around you, but you're also making people's lives, people with hidden disabilities, like I said, their lives harder, because if people fake disabilities, then how are people who authentically have disabilities going to be taken seriously? So I think, you know, it's something that I don't condone at all. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think that, like, again, that's probably coming from, please Netflix don't come for me when I say that, but this is probably coming from a very narrow-minded perspective of people that are probably, and again, I don't know their lives, but I'm assuming that that they're maybe not around disability, or they maybe, you know, they only know what society tells them about someone who's blind, things like that, so they think that it's all right because they maybe don't have any immediate contact with someone with that disability, that they think, oh, it'll be fine, you know, and they think, oh, maybe it'll, you know, I don't know, you know, it's one of those things where I think that it's, and again, it's no one's fault, you know. I think and with society we've been kind of conditioned to, you know, believe certain stigmas of stuff, like the fact that the image of a blind person is usually a man with a dog and a stick and glasses, and you're like, one, you either have a dog or a stick, you don't have both. And not every blind person wears glasses as well, like sunglasses, and that's the automatic thing. So whenever you see like guide dogs allowed, you always have that image of like a man with like a stick and a dog, and it's like, that's not real. Like, I'm a blind person and I have a stick, but I don't use it. I should probably, but I don't. And I just kind of live my life, and it doesn't really, it only affects me when I let it, I guess, and when I do need help, I'll ask for it. But I think that, you know, again, like, society's really conditioned us to believe certain things about, you know, whether it's LGBT stuff as well, or a stigma on, you know, anything, you know, like, there's all these stigmas on, you know, all these different things that we're programmed to believe, but unless you either live with it or take time to understand something, that's the only time that you'll know the truth about, you know, what it's like. Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because something that really bothers me is audiobooks, and the fact that they are out there, but they're so expensive, and you can walk into Waterstones and be surrounded by shelves of books for like £3, and then you go online and try and buy an audiobook and it's like £40, and you're like, that's not really fair, especially when a majority of the people that even know anyone, and I advise audiobooks for anyone, they're amazing, but like when the kind of demographic primarily are visually impaired people for audiobooks, and primarily most of them are unemployed, living on benefits, can't afford to pay £40 per book. And then you do have services like Audible where like $7.99 for 2 credits. I'm sorry, but I can listen to 5 audiobooks in a month, you know, so that's not going to sustain me, especially when you've got services like Netflix that also are $7.99, but that's unlimited content. So I think audiobooks is something that is a massive issue for me, because I love reading, or listening, I guess, and it's just really, and the services that are affordable or that are free don't have every title because, you know, the RNIB themselves have a audiobook library, but they have to fundraise for that, which I think is horrific. They have to fundraise for that, and it's like it's like some insane number just to produce one audiobook, and it's like, you know, it's really bad. And you know, and then the books that I would want to read that are either really really expensive or the RNIB library doesn't have because it's not, they don't, you know, they can't afford to have it on, you know. So yeah, I think that's a big issue for me. But I think that you know, from like I volunteer a lot, and I feel like I think something that's really important about volunteering is like you were saying about that audiobook service, the fact it was volunteer. If those volunteers could see what an impact their work that they're doing has on someone that's visually impaired, and the fact that they can read their favourite book or listen to their favourite book, you'd probably find that a lot more people would volunteer because they know what I'm doing is so valuable, and I can just go in and just pick up a book and read it. You know, so I am kind of, and especially if you're a reader anyway, why not just read your book aloud and, you know, have it recorded, you know? So I think that's, yeah, so I think that's something as well, you know, that if people just understood how valuable one audiobook is to someone that's visually impaired, I think, you know, there'd be a much bigger kind of like, you know, battle to kind of get more produced.